You're not sabotaging your gut health, are you? Sabotaging your fat loss? Well, we're going to talk about that today. Welcome to episode 30. Episode 30, baby, of the School of Shred. This is the one and only, the almighty show that helps you shred your old and make better your new. A better body, a better mindset, a better life. This is holistic health and fitness, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Monday. Welcome to a new week. Got some good tips here for you today, so you might want to stick around a minute. If you guys are logging on, watching this live, please comment where you are located, where you're watching from. Participate in Shred Nation. Appreciate you guys' support. The show will be here every day this week at 9 a.m. So that's Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and then you can check out the replays for just audio over on the podcast app and Spotify. You could be so kind as to take time out of your day and do a review. That'd be much appreciated. With that, let's get into it. Episode 30. This is foods that sabotage fat loss. Catchy title. Pull you in a little bit. Make you stay a minute. There is definitely foods that will sabotage your fat loss. So I got 5 points here that I want to get into in the next few minutes. So you can take these and see if any of them apply to you and anything that you might want to consider going forward with your nutrition plan. So the first one is any food that causes systemic inflammation. So any food that causes systemic inflammation is going to basically cause a whole cascade of inflammatory cytokines in your body. And when your body is in a very defensive, inflamed state, it becomes extra hard to burn body fat. Your body doesn't want to give up fat. After all, it's a stored energy source. Why would your body want to give up something if it's not in a nice, having a relaxed response? And so foods that can cause systemic inflammation, which can ultimately lead to things like leaky gut, where your gut becomes too permeable. So like the fencing that lets foods through the intestinal walls is letting too much through. And we can build up antibodies and then systemic inflammation and a whole cascade of other things that we don't want. And so there is no one-size-fits-all approach here. You have to explore. You have to explore your nutrition. So with the clients that I have worked with, there's been some common foods that tend to be a bit more inflammatory. And so what you can do is a simple test where if you have a food that you think might just be an offender, you can pull that bad boy out for 1 week. You don't eat it at all. Pull that food out for 1 week. You're putting it on trial, 7 days. And then what you do is you're going to add it back in on an empty stomach. And you're going to see how your body takes to it. That will tell you if you are having an issue with that particular food. And some things to look for when you're eating foods and you don't know, like, are they inflaming me or not? Are they good for me? Because the thing is although a food might be deemed healthy, and healthy I would call, you could call foods earth-grown foods, right? Natural foods. We all think those is really healthy, like say bananas or avocados or any of these natural foods. Doesn't mean it's healthy for you, and it doesn't mean it's healthy for you right now. You can have a compromised system and just not be able to handle that food right now. It's a very likely possibility. So this thing's a moving target. Everything's a gradient. So we got to kind of like always be assessing and always monitoring where we're at. And that's with the exercise realm, and that's with the nutritional realm as well. So anyway, so you pull these foods out, pull them out for a week, and then you put them back in. That's a good test you can do. And so foods that I've seen, clients be a bit more inflamed by is going to be things like wheat, grain, dairy, and those three specifically it's all the way that we process them nowadays. If we fermented a lot of the wheat and the grain and had like sprouted grain breads and stuff like that, it wouldn't be as much of an issue, if at all. But because production is more important than the quality of the food from these big companies that we're buying these foods from, they ain't gonna take the time to ferment foods for a week or sprout these grains. They got to get those loaves out, baby. There's a lot of people that want bread. So wheat and grain, and then dairy. So dairy, there's all sorts of colorings in it. They basically, cook out all of the natural nutrition and then try to pump it back in after pasteurizing it. So dairy, look at that. Milk, cheese. If you're open to it, you can go down the rabbit hole of looking into raw milk and cheese. You're doing that at your own risk. That's what I consume, though. There's actually microbes that will help digest the food a bit better if you don't have a compromised system. But again, that's all on you. You got to do that for yourself. And then eggs. So eggs, unfortunately, as much of a powerhouse as egg yolks are with nutrition, they can cause some problems with some folks. So that's a good one to pull out and look at. And then beans. I've had clients before that were eating beans and having real bad gastrointestinal issues, and were apprehensive to look at beans as being the culprit of the issue because they're deemed a healthy food. And so just because a food is deemed healthy does not mean it's healthy for you right now. So if you fix your body, if you fix your digestive system, you just might be able to add up those foods back in eventually. And it might be a good time to seek the highest quality of that food. So like if you really love bread, figure out a way to either make it yourself, make it really healthy, or figure out a really good company. But you're gonna have to pay to play. Like you're gonna have to pay for good bread. So we're actually in my house, we're getting into making our own sourdough, and you gotta ferment these sourdough loaves for like a week. So it's a rigorous process, but you get to choose what you're putting in the bread. You have quality control. You can make sure that it's healthy that way. So I like doing a lot of stuff homemade, and so we're gonna start doing the homemade sourdough. I do homemade kimchi and sauerkraut. I got sauerkraut going right now. I've done kombucha. So the more involved you get in your health, the more this thing will stick, which is kind of a side note. But anyway, number 2 for foods that sabotage fat loss. Eesh. Regular alcohol consumption. I know. I'm sorry, people. Some of you guys are you just went, ah. I need to have sound effects on this show. It's like they do on radio. Regular alcohol consumption can sabotage your fat loss. I know, it sucks, doesn't it? It's okay, though. You don't have to drink to be cool. You don't have to drink to have a good time. As Doug Stanhope says, you have to have a good time to have a good time. This comes down to amount and type, you guys. Okay, so there's a few things to look at. Are you drinking every day? You don't need to drink every day. There's no need to drink every day. I come from a long lineage of alcoholics and alcoholism, and from what I hear, moonshiners and all that way back in the day. So it's always been really prevalent in my family. And so I've always, in my 20s, fitness saved my life for that, because it made me aware of that at a young age of you can't drink and get in really good shape. And you kind of could cheat the system, but you got to learn a lot about it. But I've always just done Monday through Friday, I don't drink. And then if I'm going to have anything, it'll be maybe Friday and Saturday or Sunday. I try not to ever drink 3 days in a row. And nowadays, I'm kind of past the hard drinking days where it's like I'll have a glass of wine with dinner. I test my blood sugar, and I'll get into some cool stuff that I've actually been exploring recently that you might be able to explore as well, which you can definitely have a place for alcohol in your diet. But anyway, the amount is like, are you having one drink when you drink? Are you having 10 drinks? Okay, so if you're maybe in your early 20s right now listening to this, you might be having several drinks. You might be making up for the drinks you didn't have Monday through Thursday on Friday and Saturday, if you know what I'm saying. But this will cause inflammation. It's a poison, but the dosage is in the poison. And so I would recommend don't have a drink every day, but if you were going to have a drink every day, look at type, okay? And so there's different types. So you have like a deep red wine, like a Syrah, which is what I love. That's what I'll drink. I'm gravitating more towards that now on the weekends if I do have a drink. The red wine will really relax my system. And I test my blood glucose after drinking a glass of wine. So I'll have a glass or two, and my blood glucose will go from like 80, and it'll actually go down to like 78, 77, 30 minutes later. And then it'll drop like 1 point, if that, like to like, 77 or 76, like an hour after that. And so what happens is I'm finding that a glass of red wine with like a big steak and vegetables and all that, I don't need a lot of carbohydrates, but I get, natural from the vegetables in my garden. But I'm finding that the red wine actually like keeps my blood glucose lower. Because even a high protein diet, like if I have a big, a 16-ounce ribeye for dinner, which is what I usually do because I fast a lot, that will raise insulin and it will raise blood glucose to like 90 for a while, 95, maybe 100. But the red wine I'm finding is actually keeping that blood glucose low. And for like consistently low, and then I go to bed and I wake up and I don't have like these crazy high numbers all of a sudden, like something happened when I was sleeping. So I've been finding that really interesting, playing around with that one glass of red wine or maybe two. And if you keep it to 1 and 2, it like can drop you into a deep state of relaxation. I only do it once or twice a week. If that, sometimes I'll go months and months without drinking. But I bring that up because if you do it right, if you like to drink alcohol, you want to look at what type you're drinking. So if you're having beer, which a lot of my friends love beer. I love beer too. I just like light beer. I like bubbly, summer beer, but I got buddies who like that real thick stuff, and it's like that barley and the hops and the grains and all the stuff that's in there could be an issue. I mean, it could inflame you. So, I'm in Seattle, Washington, where the whole beer thing is real big, like these like micro beers and the small things. So they might actually be doing some good stuff with their like the way they ferment things, but definitely like beer is going to be heavy on the calories, heavy on the grains and the hops and all that. I'm no beer expert, but I do know what it's got in it a little bit. And so that might be an issue, and that might sabotage your fat loss. And depending on how many you're having, if you're clearing 3 or 4 IPAs every night, dude, that's a lot. I had a client one time that I had to do a food log, and this gal, she did a food log, brought her calories in. Her calories for the day was 1,000 calories, or it was like 1,100. And over half of those calories came from 2 IPAs, because she like logged 2 IPAs in her Fitness Pal. And I was like, oh my God, like she had this real healthy shake in the morning. That was about it. And then kind of had like a nibble for dinner, but then these 2 beers, and I'm like, fuck that, that's a lot of calories right there. So like 50% of her day came from a beer, and it was like an average day. So got to be careful of that stuff, man. It can sneak up on you, those calories from alcohol. So, but again, like the poison is in the dosage. I'm a big fan of alcohol. I don't consume it regularly all the time. Sometimes I'll go for several months without consuming it. Sometimes I'll go to a bachelor party and get crazy, hey, for a couple days. So trash my body and then have to put it back together with all these principles we're getting into. But nonetheless, you need to keep it in check, or it could sabotage your fat loss. Okay. Moving on, number 3, foods that sabotage fat loss is processed refined carbohydrates. So people who like to just count calories, probably going to start turning this show off at this point. Processed refined carbs are loaded with toxic vegetable oils and polyunsaturated fats. These are not good for you. They oxidize with heat. If you're having processed foods, they don't care about logistics and how hot or how long these oils are sitting in these boxes of foods, like on the shelves. These shelf lives are through the roof. You shouldn't be eating these. Uh, the polyunsaturated fats, if you guys want to read a great book, it's called Deep Nutrition. Deep Nutrition from Dr. Kate Shanahan. And it goes into like just how amazingly toxic oxidized oils are. And they can attack your body in a plethora of ways more than sugar. So it's like you literally want to worry more about getting rid of bad oxidized fats in your diet before you worry about sugar. I mean, that's kind of the key. I mean, they're both not good for you, but these oils can just like wreak havoc on your brain function and your cells of your body. Not good stuff. And typically processed refined carbs, they have both sugar and these vegetable oils in them. These cheap oils that they could get in these foods, and they get damaged with heat. And so, but the sugar being added in there, I mean, these foods can hijack your satiety and make you overeat. And they can make your ass have to count calories. This is the thing that people don't consider is like, if you want to eat a bunch of processed refined carbs, yeah, you're going to have to count calories, man, because you're always going to be hungry or you're going to overeat. But if you fill up on earth-grown foods and good fats, like full fat meats and vegetables and, fruit sparingly, like after workouts and whatnot, like I'm telling you, your satiety is going to be on point and you won't be obsessing about food all the time. But the more processed foods you want to have in your diet, the more you're going to have to do the whole weighing the food and count the calories. And you can do it. I've done it. I'm just saying it's real hard to maintain. And as you get older, you start to look at like, what are human beings really designed to be eating? Like, what are we designed for? And caveman before spaceman. So something to look into. If you're going to partake in those processed refined foods, maybe have them with some fat or have them with some protein or something like that. If you choose to do that, that's your choice. But definitely the big thing here is that, number one, the vegetable oils are not good for you. Number two, the sugar can hijack your satiety and basically make you hungry all the time. So we don't want that. We don't want to be hungry all the time. We want to be living life, and we want to be producing more inside of our lives in business and our families, and be present like husbands and wives. We don't want to be worrying about food constantly. So, and it can cause inflammation too. But I digress. Number 4, any food that spikes blood glucose. So this whole system that I talk about of hormone sensitive lipase enzyme activity is really important to break down triglycerides, which are your storage form of fat. Right. So in order to get fat mobilized, which is like the first process of the fat burning process, you need HSL to be high. Okay. And HSL is directly correlated with low insulin levels. Okay. And a quick way to see how your insulin's doing, it's not perfect, but you can look at your blood glucose and manage your blood sugar. And when your blood sugar is like between 70 to 89, you're more in the fat burning zone. If you start eating foods throughout the day, and this just comes to like not necessarily just the foods you're eating, but this is about how you put your diet together and how you plan it. And so if you're having foods that 5 times a day, you maybe have 3 meals, and you're like, oh, but I got a couple snack meals because people say that's healthy. Well, maybe those foods are a piece of fruit and it's spiking insulin again. You are basically combating trying to have the very little calories with these hormone spikes. And so what you have to do is you're combating your low calorie diet because you're spiking your insulin so much. And so if you were to not spike your insulin so much, you might be able to handle more calories and burn more body fat at the same time. And so, and you can do this through blood glucose. Not to mention, as somebody who does this, I feel much better when I'm stabilizing my blood sugars throughout the day. And there's a whole system for that we teach at the School of Shred. And but anyway, so that's something to consider as well, is trying to not spike blood sugar throughout the day. You've probably heard that before. It starts to get drowned out after a while, but it is something to look at to make sure that your fat loss is on point and you're getting to where you want to get to. The last one I got for you guys today is low-fat foods. So low-fat foods can sabotage fat loss. And the way that they can sabotage fat loss is they can affect our hormones. Not getting enough fat could make us more ravenous. And then the practical side of the house on this one as well is that that not having enough fat in your foods that you're eating, dietary fat, is going to make you ravenous. It's going to make you hungrier. Fat makes us feel full. It's 9 calories per gram. It's twice as calorically dense, but we get a lot out of it. You know, most of the cells in your body need fat. And so carbohydrates are really the only food that is not our macronutrient that's not needed. We could make that in our body through protein. Okay, and if we didn't have excess protein, we could create ketones in the body and use those for energy from fat. So protein and fats are very, very important. They help you stay satiated, which can help unsabotage your fat loss. So that's episode 30, y'all. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for watching. Again, if you guys are watching this, go ahead and drop a comment where you're watching from. If you got value from this, please like and share it. Help the school grow. We're trying to do something special here. This is holistic health. So it's about being mentally fit, spiritually fit, physically fit. I've been doing this for a while, and each kind of physical goal that I was able to check off, I started to realize it was about something deeper, because it's very hard to just keep a certain look or an appearance. But when you start digging deeper into being mentally fit and spiritually fit, especially as life walks on you here and there, you realize that holistic health and being a balanced individual becomes very, very important. That's what I want to share with the world. I want to share that with people. There's so many cool things we can do to really be healthy all the way through. And I'm all in on holistic health. And as you listen to this, I hope you are too. It's about creating a better life, producing more inside of our lives. It's not about just getting a look, just getting a six pack. I'm not here to just sell you a program. With my clients, I want to hear, how is the work day going now that you're fit? How is your relationships? You happier in your life? That's what's most important. So if you're down with that, you're part of Shred Nation. If you want to learn more, go to www.schoolofshredpodcast.com. Jump on the email list. I'm giving out right now, for a short period of time, I'm giving out a 10-part holistic health course over 10 days. A lot of content. I've been working really hard to put that together. If you go sign up at schoolofshredpodcast.com, you will instantly be added to that, and you will get your very first lesson of 10 lessons for free. This is not going to last forever. I'm not going to keep doing this. I'm going to change it up here at some point. So take advantage of this offer today. And if you can review the podcast on the podcast app on iTunes, I will send you something. You just got to screenshot your review, because people have crazy screen names and I don't know who it is. Screenshot your review and send it to me. I'm going to hook you up with some good stuff. So I just appreciate you guys' support. Thanks for listening. And we will see you guys tomorrow with episode 31. This was the Dirty 30 episode right here. 5 episodes a week. We're getting up there. So thanks for watching. With that, I want you guys to stay strong and healthy in body. Stay relentless and energized in spirit. Stay determined in your pursuits. That spells shred. Now go shred the day and get better in every way. Until next time, school, class,